Hello, YouTube, okay? It's time for the MMO Warp Server tier list for Tower of Fantasy. Finally, we're making another tier list after whatever the last tier list video was back in freaking 1.0, it feels like. Okay, now tier lists are actually relevant in Tower of Fantasy. Okay, it's no longer the newest one that's better, since all the weapons are somewhat decently balanced. And as again, okay, you can't have perfect balancing on weapons in a game. People will always find the most meta, best comp possible, so there obviously still is going to be a tier list. The gap from S to D rank in this tier list will be way smaller than it was on the regular servers, but there will still be a gap. Okay, so let's go through all the weapons and see which one is better. Okay, this is not the relative strength tier list. It is which one is worth investing your limited amount of weapon mats into. It's an investment tier list because there's some weapons that have theoretical much higher theoretical damage or strength, but they will be lower on the tier list because they're not worth investing in, or they're harder to play, or stuff like that. So this is an investment tier list. So here goes. First things first, we're gonna go through all 6 of the free weapons that you end up getting. The free weapons. All right, Cobalt. Where do we put Cobalt? First, Cobalt. Since you get all of these for free on day 1 when you log in, okay, Cobalt is actually good after you get all the weapons. Late game, she's not worth investing at all, right? Her kit is just too dated, too old, and then you end up missing a lot of her damage when you press her skill. But in general, at the beginning of the game, since you're going to be farming a lot of Robarg for boss chests, right? She could be up here early game, but later she goes to D, right? Get her to +7, at most +8, just for the combat score, and like do not go any higher on Cobalt. She is one of the best weapons for the first 6 that you get. One of the best free-to-play weapons, but you know, don't invest over 7 or 8. Pretty much the same thing, okay? But she goes higher into C tier because she is a skill damage support weapon. Skill damage support, where you can use her later as well for a little bit more than Cobalt. But again, maximum +7. Don't go any higher, okay? +7 or 8 max. There's way more better skill damage support weapons, okay? But yeah, Claudia, Cobalt, they fit together on the same team too. She's a skill damage support. Cobalt is a skill damage DPS. They work together, so like really good early comp if you just level these 2. And then she has early game movement macro tech. Yes, so good starting weapons to level to 7, but stop there. 0 negating cube. All healers going into the healer tier. There's no like, all healers in this MMO version are relevant, are useful for the content that you're doing. Again, okay, if you are choosing to play a healer, you need all healer weapons leveled up to a certain extent to have the utility kit, the toolkit available for your character. Okay, it depends on what your team needs. You select the different healers, okay? They're all relevant. 0 gives damage immunity to like face tank damage, AoEs for your whole team. Nemesis is a healer. She also can be used to aggro with her pillars for certain raids, right? All healers are relevant. If you choose to be a healer, you need to level all of them. So all healers go into the same place, okay? Tian, a tank. Where does he go? He goes into, I don't know, pretty high C tier. Maybe even B. We put him in C first. Okay. Tian is a tank. Yes, not a DPS anymore. He's a tank on the MMO server. He's one of the free ones. He ends up giving you a lot of extra HP so you can survive content, since healers can heal you back better and stuff like that, right? But then there are better tanks out there that you should invest in first before Tian, all right? Tank is similar to healers, where like all the different tank weapons have utility and stuff like that. But like, you know, some tanks are just way better than others, so you should invest into those. Tian is one when like the content requires you to have a shit ton of HP and stuff like that. But there are better tanks out there. Meryl, I don't even know what she does. Straight into D tier. You use her for a little bit for shatter purposes in some certain content. Other than that, I've never seen anyone use Meryl in the meta whatsoever. So the whole reason why tanks don't have their own category and why I put them into the rankings is because of Meryl. She is a D tier tank weapon. That's the only reason why. Moving on, nothing else needs to be said for Meryl. Yeah. That's triple S tier for trolling? Sure. Meryl, also you get to walk on water if that's still relevant for you, but you don't need to level her up or invest into her. Don't bother with this weapon, please. Moving on, we got the 2 collab weapons. I'm not sure if Global will get these at all. If Global does get the transfer option, maybe the collab weapons will exist, so I will rate them, I guess. I'll take them out of the tier list after. But Asuka, S tier fucking tank weapon. At very meta for tanking. Super fucking good. That's about it. God tier tank weapon. I hope that global players can get access to her. We'll see what happens. And then Ray is more like just another vault DPS. Ray is not as good as Asuka, unfortunately. Ray would probably be like B tier if I would have to rate her. So there's the collab weapon rankings, but you know, we're gonna take them out since nobody will have access to them on day 1. So we're just gonna leave them down here. Moving on, we're gonna start on banner 1 weapons. All of these weapons will be available on the first banner. And then once you're done with the first banner, then you go to the second banner, right? So for first banner weapon, a Void Piercer. Void Piercer, altered, put her into A tier. She is a basic attack damage dealer and also has background support, damage buffing capabilities. She can also teleport to all the world bosses. Very good investment. Also, she has trait, so you can unlock additional attack stats by gifting her gifts and stuff like that. Very good altered weapon. Potentially S tier, but like low S tier. Altered weapons don't go into S tier because they like, that's just how the MMO server works. Altered weapon upgrade mats just don't exist. Right? They're very expensive to build and invest into an altered character. So you shouldn't prioritize them. And if you do want to build an altered character, you prioritize 1 out of the 3 available. Only you do not build all 3. Okay, it's a whale element, and also there's a lot of content in the game where there's elemental weakness for certain weapons. Altered never gets a weakness, so you know, elemental weapons are better in general and stronger than altered. It's only on non-altered, non-weakness floors where altered is actually good, but then like, you know, very hard to build up. So she only gets A tier. Lynn is the same story. She is the best skill damage buffer in the entire game, but that only is true when she is plus 15. Very, very, very expensive to build. Very, very expensive to build. Isn't it supposed to be free to play server? It is an MMO with trade. You gotta understand, no MMO with trade is free to play. Whales can buy mats from other players and instantly plus 15 by spending a few $1,000s. There is an auction house for a reason. So unless you're that type of player, do not go into the altered weapon. But I'll leave them in A tier because, you know, they're still decent. Moving on, Tsubasa. Frost. Tsubasa goes into C tier. Slightly better. I'll just put the... Where do I put her? Slightly above Claudia. She is a basic attack damage buffer, right? Basic and dodge attack damage buffer. Okay. They're like, Tsubasa and Claudia are like the same tier, basically. They're all support weapons, but like their skill cooldowns don't fit the other weapons too well. Okay. So, Tsubasa and Claudia are basically the same thing. Okay, they're Claudia buffs skill, Tsubasa buffs basic attack and dodge attack, but their cooldowns don't align with most of the other weapons in the game. So, it's really awkward playing them You got to swap to them more often, do their things, and then swap back. So like they don't really fit. And that's why she is on C as well. Okay. Moving on. Saki. She is no longer DPS. She doesn't have DPS resonance. She is purely a tank. Saki is a very good, one of the better tank weapons. Okay. Because at +9, if I remember correctly, +9, she has a forced Fantasia. Okay. Very important for certain boss contents to lock the boss in place and to trigger discharge damage for your whole team. Very strong. And should be invested into until you unlock that manual Fantasia. She is the only weapon in the game that gives you manual Fantasia, and in some content it is absolutely necessary. She no longer has the reset. She can only reset herself at certain levels and stuff like that. She can't work on a DPS team. Okay, there is no Rainbow Shocky anymore for those original server players. Okay, they don't even cope about it. Moving on, we got Roslyn, a DPS weapon. She is a, let me just double check. She is a basic attacker, right? No, she does basic attacks and stuff, but she is a skill damage. She counts as skill damage. She is a skill damage DPS. Okay, one of the early weapons you can choose to invest in, but don't go too high because there's way better frost options. So you can choose to go Roslyn, Claudia, and I don't know, a Lynn for skill damage buffing. But the problem with Roslyn, all of these lower rated DPS characters, is the fact that you're forced to stay on them. You're kind of forced to stay on them to do their full combo. And then she is a very, very melee distance heavy DPS, right? She stays in melee distance. And since there's a lack of hyper body on the MMO server, okay, you ended up getting interrupted a lot, and you end up like missing a lot of damage because you're forced to be in melee distance. So she is at C tier because of that. But for those of you coping and that really like these melee distance DPSs, you can late game or like mid game, there are relics that give you permanent hyper body, pretty much. Not permanent, but like give you hyper body duration. There is gear that gives you more hyper body. So like you can build these characters and get to +15 if you really simp for them and do well mid to late game. Once you get all the options for you to do more damage, then you don't get interrupted. But if you think about it that way, safer to play characters can instead go for DPS relics and DPS gear to do even more damage. So at the end of the day, you only get C tier. Okay, you really need hyper body to play her. Moving on, Brig is kind of the same, but even worse. Brig, you need to be in her zone to spam dash attacks, but then her zone expires, and then you have nothing to do, and then she just doesn't do anything. Really kind of bad. Frigg just doesn't really work in the current meta. You need to be melee distance, and then she needs to be on field doing dash attacks in her zone. Her zone ends, and then like you have a window where you do nothing. Not ideal. Okay. Moving on. Coco, healer weapon. Damage support, healer. But her zone is kind of small, unfortunately, so she's like not that great. Let me check if she does anything else. Still a healer though. Still has utility. Coco is good at like once you invest into her, and then she gives your whole team buffs, right? Very good buffing weapon, but again, situational. And her buffing zone is relatively small. Moving on, Lan, we put her into B tier. Lan is a tank weapon. She does the only thing about Lan that why she's good, why she's up here, is because she gives your whole team damage reduction when you hold attack in the air. So for certain content where you have to face tank damage or there's too much damage going on, you need Lan on the tank. Very good. And then she also does passive damage with her umbrellas, and then also really good in that Liu Hua tank DPS comp for Bygone and stuff like that, just for passive damage and stuff like that. All right, Lan is decent to invest in, one of the better weapons to invest in from the first banner actually. Okay, moving on, next we have King. King is a DPS resonance weapon, but you don't use him for DPS. There is no shatter weapon category, but he is a go-to shatter weapon. He is one of the best shatter weapons in the entire game for any content that requires shatter. That's not a tank. Okay, so you basically use his discharge, use his skill, do like 3 dodge attacks, and then the shield is gone. And then you can switch to your actual damage weapons. All right, King, for some reason, is still relevant, especially for Bygone. Okay, one of the better shatter weapons to invest in. But again, don't go too high because it's not necessary. Okay, since he is a shatter weapon, you don't need high investment shatter weapon. That King is really good early game. Put him on A tier. Let's put Ozarada. Ozarada again, C. Okay, not because he's a dude. Okay, Ozarada is a deep flame DPS weapon. Flame DPS weapon that's counted as basic attacks. Okay, he is very, very, very strong. Theoretically, okay, the strongest flame weapon, the strongest flame DPS. But again, since you need to do his combo and be like dashing around and having your clones hit the target and stuff, he ends up missing a lot of damage and he ends up getting interrupted a lot. Theoretically, if the target doesn't move and you never get interrupted, he is the best flame DPS. But hard to play, misses a lot of damage, not ideal for investing. +7 at most early game. Don't go too high on him. Moving on, Master Yu. D tier. Master Yu is a discharge damage buffer. Okay, buffs a lot of discharge damage. But to even activate the discharge damage buff, you have to stay on her on field and do basic attacks, which her basic attack kit is very clunky and you get interrupted a lot and then you waste a lot of time, and there's way better discharge buffing weapons out there. And then she buffs discharge damage, but all her stars give her skill damage buff for her own skill, where you float in the air and press, like you do go chessboard stuff. Okay, it's a quick demo. You do this and then you land all the pieces, and based off of the ping, you're unable to spend all your pieces because you have bad ping, right? I still have 3 left, right? It's really bad. Her stars buff that, but like you need to have really good ping to even utilize all her damage. Unfortunately, she's just not ideal to play, man. Don't invest into her at all. Not too high if you really want +7 at most, just for the discharge buff. Her skill damage is decently high, but most people can't even play her properly because of ping issues. It's a ping dependent weapon, and also as a discharge buffer, he is supposed to buff discharge and be off field, but then she takes like 10 seconds of field time from her skill. Most people don't even cast her skill, or like she's just a very weird kit that doesn't synergize with anybody too well. Her own stars buff her own skill damage. Meanwhile, you need to do basic attacks to get your discharge buff, which you're like forced to be on field for like 5 seconds doing basic attacks. You get the discharge buff, then you press her skill, and then you're stuck there for 10 seconds landing the chess pieces, and then you switch out, and then your cooldowns for other weapons. It just doesn't work. Okay, don't get her. Bad. Moving on. Plotty is like high B tier. Plotty is really good. It's one of the best first banner weapons. She's higher than Ozarada because with Plotty, you just fly in the air and hold left click, and then all your attacks are homing, and then you hit the targets easily. She doesn't miss any damage. She's very safe. She doesn't have to be grounded, so you end up dodging a bunch of AoE grounded attacks. Okay, very strong. But there are better options late game. But she is one of the weapons that you could invest into the first week or two on the MMO server to have a great time. Very simple to play. Very high B tier. Okay, moving on. Vault weapon. Rubelia, also very high B tier. One of the better weapons to invest into from the first banner as well. He plays with Plotties. Plotty does basic attack. Rubelia buffs basic attack. He is one of the best basic attack buffing weapons in the game, right? And she has, you know, you can fly with her for exploration and stuff. Okay. Don't go don't like basically any weapon from the first banner. Don't go more than +8, right? But Rubelia is one of the better ones, and she built the basic attack team, and can be used later on for other basic attack teams as another support weapon. Rubelia is really good. Moving on, Meryl Ironheart. Same situation as Osrod or Roslyn. Meryl is a Vault discharge DPS, but then you have to stay on field as her and spam basic attacks and stuff like that. Again, she is melee distance, ends up losing a lot of damage because no hyper body. Another character that doesn't have hyper body, and you end up losing a lot of damage because of it. So not recommended, and there's way better Vault weapons to invest into later. Okay. Moving on. Samir. Samir is a DPS weapon, but she is, like King, a shatter weapon in the MMO server. Okay, she is a shatter weapon. She doesn't really do damage anymore. She is there to break shields. What she specializes in is single target shatter. Okay, she's really good breaking shields on single targets, but unfortunately, you don't really use that too often. King is just better, since most of the time when you need to shatter, it's for Bygone and there's a group of mobs, everyone with shield. So Samir is rated lower at C. Okay. You just need to have her for certain situational content. Don't need to invest into her too much. Moving on, Crow. What does Crow even do, man? Straight to D tier. Crow is a backstab weapon still, right? His original kit is kind of still the same. You need to like be attacking things from the back and doing stuff like that, and it's just not a consistent experience. And then he gives you like increased crit and crit damage and stuff like that, but in MMO server, when targets have a crap ton of crit resist, you don't crit anyways, and just not ideal. Okay, Jetpack Crow is probably dead. They nerfed all the plunge attack damage. They don't want players to be using plunge attack, so don't even think about Jetpack Crow, okay? Don't even bother getting Crow. D tier. Maybe people can discover ways to play him super endgame when everyone gets enough crit to actually crit, but D tier. Don't bother. Next, Anka. Anka, again, C tier, okay? Again, theoretically, one of the best Fizz DPS weapons in the game. Very high theoretical limit, but again, because she is forced to be in melee distance and there's a lack of hyper body, he can only be at C tier. Not worth getting. A lot more safer weapons to play. Okay, moving on. Claudia Storm Eye. One of, if not the best, if not the best weapons that you can invest in from the first banner. Okay. Claudia Storm Eye is not your traditional DPS. She is a discharge damage dealer. That she does background damage, and she gives you charge after you do a dash attack. Her kit gets unlocked pretty early as well. She is a supporting weapon that does off-field damage. Very good against single target or AoE mobs. One of the best weapons to get for early game that you could potentially level up past +8. Okay, but I still don't recommend going past +8 since there are better options, better Fizz options to go into later. Okay, so yeah, there's that. Last weapon, Lyra. Lyra is just another healer. Okay, healers go into healer tier. They're situational. How do you say it? She is the shatter weapon for healers. So like if your team needs shatter and you're playing as a healer, you can choose to go for Lyra. She also helps your whole team survive better as well. But still, healer, pretty good. All healer weapons you should invest in if you're gonna play healer. Okay, that's it. That is, I think this is all the weapons. Yes, this is all the weapons from the first banner and from the first 6 basic weapons that you get for free, right? So there's the tier list for banner 1. As you can see, there is no S tier, as in you shouldn't hyper invest into anything in Banner 1. Please don't do it, okay? Banner 2 weapons are just that much better. That much better. No S tier weapons on Banner 1. This is Banner 1 weapons are just for you to get to know the game, learn the game, progress your account, build your gear. They're for coping until you get to Banner 2, which unlocks after you're done with Banner 1. So in like 2 weeks. Don't hyper invest into Banner 1. They are bait. Most of them are bait. That's it for Banner 1 tier list. Now, off to Banner 2. Once you are done with Banner 1, you unlock Banner 2 weapons, and hopefully you are lucky because Banner 2 weapons are so much stronger. Most of them at least. Nola is a skill DPS altered weapon. Very good. Very, very good. But again, as of all altered weapons, you can only pick one realistically unless you whale and you like spend a shit ton of money buying stuff from the auction house. Not recommended investing. I would still invest into just Void Piercer unless you really like Nola. But all altered weapons are good. They're at A tier. Moving on, Fenrir is a discharge damage support. She is really good, but not the best because she only buffs discharge damage. She isn't a generic buffer. She's not a one-size-fit-all weapon like the other discharge buffers. So she is kind of situational if you're only building discharge damage. It's a discharge damage team. So you shouldn't invest too high into Fenrir, even if you like her. Really good, but there are better options still. Moving on. Wait, why is Fenrir here? I just realized. I should start with Frost. She's a vault weapon. Whatever. Put her in B tier. Okay, moving on. Frost. Linsis. Linsis is a B tier weapon. She is a Frost. She is a Frost basic attacker, right? Yes, Frost basic attacker, and then her kit requires her to do like some basic attacks, do the sub skill, do a dash attack to trigger that, and do some stuff like that. She is slightly safer to play than these options. That's why she's here. But she is also a melee distance Frost. If you really want to build her, you can. Anything in B tier, if you really want to build, sure, go for it. But there are better options. Again, another hyper body issue weapon. Moving on for Frost, we got our first S tier, high S tier, Helene, the first plus 15 weapon that all the whales went for on CN. Okay, Helene is fucking god tier on the MMO server for reasons because he plays very safe. Her skills get her out of melee distance, dodging a lot of AoEs. Her hold attack can get interrupted, but you can use the hyper body relic to make her get hyper body specifically for that hold attack burst damage, so you don't get interrupted. And then the rest of the time, she's just doing basic attacks into dodge attack, which also gets her away from the target. Right? She plays at mid-range, very safe, and she has really good burst potential. That's here for trolling blocks chest. Like, Helene is the best Frost weapon, the best weapon for Season 1 on the MMO server. And if you want proof, you go to the auction house on CN right now, and you look at the weapon mats that are being sold, and you can see there is 0 Frost mats. 0. People insta-buy these, and no one sells these because everyone trying to build Frost. He's just that good. Okay? But in the same way, she will be very expensive to build because of that. Okay? Because everyone will be chasing the plus 15 Helene. And that's why she deserves S tier. Okay? Build her early, build her when the purple mats are cheaper. Okay? Really good DPS weapon, very safe. Moving on, we got a Grey Fox. We put her into high A tier. Grey Fox is a skill damage support, and another reason why Frost is expensive. He is the best skill damage support behind Lyn. Lyn is still better, but Lyn is way more expensive to build, right? Grey Fox is super easy to play. You swap to her once you're at +9, you press her skill and you swap out. And instantly you get a crap ton of skill damage buff, right? And then she does background damage, AoE, Frost in the background. So like she is really strong. Really, really strong, right? If you're building any skill damage team, like Helene, or any skill damage team, basically, you need to get Grey Fox to at least +9, or even higher. Where is Grey Fox? +9 is the right one, right? You need to get her to +9 for that instant skill cast, full buffs, and swap out. But that's Grey Fox, high A tier. Invest into her more if you can afford it. But if you're building the Frost damage team, you should get Helene up first before you go further than +9 on Grey Fox. Why is Altered so expensive to build? Altered is expensive to build because you just don't have enough Altered mats in the game. All the sources in the game where you get upgrade mats don't give you Altered. Altered is very rare to find. That's why, like, you have to buy them from the auction house from other players, and the cost is just prohibitively expensive. It's not expensive. You get way less Altered mats than other elements, and that forces you to buy them from the auction, and that's why it's expensive. And then selector boxes don't have Altered as well. Exactly. Especially the blue ones. Moving on, we have Yanua. Yanua's spear goes all the way into... Where is she? Into B tier. Okay, she is a shatter weapon, like King, like Samir. Yanua is pretty good for shattering, for frost content. But King is still better, and you shouldn't invest into too many shatter weapons. You will see use when you need to shatter stuff in the solo typical collapse mode. That's about it. Don't go too high. Alice is a discharge damage dealer, background damage supporter, discharge weapon thing. But like discharge teams are just not meta in season 1, unfortunately. I play discharge team on CN, and you know, the skill damage teams are just that much better. And then Alice is kind of too generic of a weapon, or too not generic enough, and she's a discharge weapon, so C. Unfortunate. Moving on, Liu Huo, straight into S tier, but behind Helene. Okay, Liu Huo's paintbrush is the go-to flame DPS weapon of season 1. He is very safe, as in she has a lot of options to do damage. Okay, you can spam basic attack, hold attack. You can spam dodge, hold. Anything you do doesn't matter as long as she builds charge. She will consume charge and do damage, discharge damage. She has a lot of ways, a lot of different kit to do damage in when she's on field doing basic attacks. She has a lot of options. And then she can have pseudo hyper body, as in whenever you need to, whenever you're about to get hit, you can dodge into hold attack to do the dodge hold to face tank damage and get some fake hyper body. Right? Very versatile, very safe to play. And then also, he has this insane synergy, this weird synergy with tank weapons. So you can run her with 2 other tank weapons, and she ends up doing a shit ton of damage. So a lot of fake tanks that try to do damage as well need Liu Huo. So you run Liu Huo 2 tanks, and then she's also really, really, really good for Bygone, or tank, because like you can be tank resonance and still do damage and still be able to shatter mobs and stuff like that. Very, very strong. Your go-to flame DPS for Warp server. If you're trying to play flame team, get Liu Huo. Moving on, Carrot is again also a skill damage flame weapon. Okay, not recommended over Liu Huo because her skill damage and stuff can miss. Not ideal to play, but if you really want to play her, you can. Skill damage DPS weapon. Yeah, because like you miss a lot of damage with Carrot because of her inconsistent hitboxes and stuff like that. And then sometimes your skill doesn't land and then you lose a lot of damage. It's not ideal. Okay. Ruby, even worse than Carrot as flame. She is a discharge damage dealer, and then you need to stay on field with her and stuff like that. We put her like somewhere here, right? Low C tier. Discharge damage dealer. Since she is the discharge damage dealer, and discharge damage teams are bad. C. Moving on, Faisa is a healer, so she goes to healer tier. Faisa is your go-to healer for, okay, maximum healing. If you want the most healing possible, you go Faisa. And then she also has a kit where he reduces the target from healing. Okay, reduces healing on the target. So for content that has bosses that self-heal, she's also very important. Yes, Faisa is a healer. She is required for certain content, so she goes into healer kit. Moving on, Lekis is also a healer. One of the 2 weapons that allows you to clear Graying Bite. Some bosses have a very annoying Graying Bite still. Lekis helps you clear that. She is also the go-to DPS weapon for a healer, right? Where is Lekis? Let me double check. Yeah. So if your team requires more damage and you're playing the healer, he is the go-to DPS weapon for the healer. Just like how Lyra is the go-to shatter weapon for healer. It's different kits, right? She is your go-to DPS weapon. And then you'll be doing her regular main server rotation, doing basic attacks and the hold attacks, charging, and all that stuff. And there is no execute on MMO server. That does not exist, okay? But she is the DPSer for healers and the Graying Bite clearing weapon for healers. One of the 2. Moving on, we have finally Huma, a tank weapon for flame. She is like Meryl tier. No idea what she does. Why she's even in the second banner. I don't know why would anyone use Huma. She gives you a lot of resistances and good against AoE targets or mobs and stuff. Like, just why? Right? But why? Lekis is a damage buffing healer. Lekis is like the same category as Coco. Damage buff healer, but she also does damage unlike Coco. That's why she's slightly higher over here. But moving on, we don't talk about Huma because we don't know what the hell she even does. Next, Hipper. Hipper is your go-to Vault DPS. He's like low S tier, very low S tier, maybe even A. Okay, you can't match Hipper with Helene or Liuhuo. Although Hipper does do more damage than both of these weapons, theoretically, he also has the hyper body issue that all these C tier weapons have. She is forced to be in melee distance and you need to do a full combo and you're forced to stay on her for the entire duration and you can't swap. She needs a perfect rotation, all that stuff. But her skill does give her like an extra 5 or 6 seconds, I don't remember, of hyper body at the beginning. And then you can use your relics for some more hyper body. And then, you know, like, she works slightly better than the other weapon. And out of all the possible vault weapons, she is the best one that you can invest into. So that's why she is high S, or she is in low S tier or high A tier. I'm gonna put her a high A tier, probably. Very high A tier. We'll just leave her here. If you're trying to play vault, get Hipper. That's basically what it is. Antoria is... I'll probably put Antoria here above Hipper, actually. Antoria, god tier weapon. Okay, she allows you to fly in the open world, straight up just fly. Okay, she is a basic attack buffing weapon, but since this is an investment tier list, right? She buffs basic attack, but she also gives generic damage buffs as well, and she gives AoE vault damage in the background. Okay, she's a one-size-fit-all character, very, very high S tier, probably higher than Liuhuo, honestly. Probably higher than Liuhuo. She buffs every freaking element. You can use her on every possible team. He also flies, and then she's really quick to play. You press her skill again, and then you're out, right? Very quick on the rotation as well. Passive damage in the background, very, very strong. And then she gives you occasional hyper body in the background. Very high S tier. Everyone should get Antoria. Okay, moving on. Yeah, wheelchair character, honestly. I agree. Quick, very easy to use. Press her skill twice, swap out, background damage, buffs all types of damage, buffs basic attacks even more. So much easier to use. He is basically similar to Rubelia, but Rubelia forces you to Rubelia loses damage because there's like spikes that she summons, and then you have to maintain them. You have to go back, do basic attacks, do dodge attacks. You have to cast her discharge to regenerate the spikes, all that bullshit. And Toria, brain dead, press skill twice, swap out. Buffs even more than Rubelia. Super easy. Much better weapon. Moving on. Brevi. Brevi is your second, you're one of the other graying bite clearing weapons. She is the go-to graying bite clearing weapon for content that has graying bite. She also supports and it gives team buffs. All supports give team buffs, basically. She's really good. All right. So she's like high on the healer tier list, but again, all healers are relevant. So just invest into all of them. I think this is more like the healer tier list, something like that. That's all the healers, yeah? That's it. Moving on. Next, we got Zeke. I want to put him in high S tier. He's really strong, but he's high A. Okay. Zeke is the best support for discharge comps. He works with Liu Hu, right? Zeke is a discharge damage buffer and also is a generic damage buffer for yourself. And at high investments, plus 12 and beyond, it has a team-wide buff, right? Because he's like the only meta DPS weapon that has a team-wide buff. If you're in a try-hard crew, at least one person needs to highly invest into Zeke. But compared to the rest of the S tier weapons, when you're going into him, you're benefiting the team, not yourself. So you kind of shaft yourself for the greater good. Zeke does not have execute on the MMO server. Stop spreading misinformation, okay? There is no executes, but he does do a lot of single target damage. The reason why he's all the way up here is because of his passive. His passive basically gives 12 charge to all the other weapons. So when you swap out of him, put him into the background, whatever foreground weapon will get 12 charge instead of their usual charge, which is abysmally low. So like any weapon, for example, Liu Hu. This is why you have to run Liu Hu with him, right? Liu Hu has a charge of 6 normally, right? Liu Hu has a charge of 6, but if you have Zeke on the team, Liu Hu will have charge of 12. So charging speeds are doubled. And then since you build more charge, if he consumes more charge, he does more damage. Okay, Zeke is a very good generic, just off-field damage buffer for the team and yourself, and it buffs whatever weapon you're using and gives them a lot of charge. Very good. Also, micro stuns on bosses. Yeah, whenever you press his skill, you get his quote-unquote executes from the original server. They don't execute anymore, but they do a shit ton of damage, and they also slows any bosses down. It slows the animation on the bosses every time you do a hit. Very good for team content where the boss jumps around, moves around too much. And if you want to keep the boss staying in one place. Very strong, high A tier. Should get Zeke, okay, if you're playing the discharge team. And if you're trying to be a team player. I think that's it. Moving on, Shiro. Shiro is like in a very weird spot. He has the guaranteed crit stuff, right? But again, no place in the meta for Shiro. Very weird to play. Doesn't mix with any other weapons too well. If anyone wants to try some funky stuff, go for it. I don't recommend investing into her. There's so many better options. Moving on, we got Aster. Aster is like, for a tank weapon, okay, S tier. So Aster is like the go-to tank weapon that you need to get. The go-to tank weapon that you need to invest in for even bygone content when you run Liu Hu, Aster, and some other tank weapon. Okay, she is the default shatter weapon. She does a shit ton of shatter on her discharge. She does a shit ton of shatter when you press her skill. Every tank needs to get Aster basically. And also she gets to fly, AOT style. Very strong. Okay, but again, so yeah, if you're playing a tank, you should get her. If you're trying to be a DPS player, obviously he is S tier for tanks. For DPS players, just get her to what is the level? Get her to 7. That's all you need. Moving on, we got Yan Miao. Yan Miao, we put her into somewhere around here. Okay, she's in the middle of A tier. She is the the safest physical DPS weapon. He does skill damage, okay? The safest skill damage DPSer on the MMO server. But Fizz teams are in general kind of shafted. And Helene, Lil Hua is just better in general. And then she's also not that safe to play, even if she is the safest. So Yemiao is over here. If you want to play a Fizz team, you should invest into Yemiao. Moving on, Gateoo. Gateoo is the secret hidden OP S tier Fizz character. She is rated S tier not because she is a main DPS like Yemiao, right? Gateoo isn't really a main DPS capable weapon. Not as good as Yemiao, but okay, Gateoo is god tier for other reasons. Why is Gateoo here? Gateoo has, how do you explain this? Okay, Gateoo has background damage. All you do, you can just press her skill, swap out. She does a crap ton of background damage for free. Single target though, for bosses. So a +3 Gateoo even is better than a +10 Antoria, for example. Okay, investing into Gateoo is a one-size-fits-all. But the moment your buffing weapons get above +12, if you get +12 Antoria, +12 Grey Fox, at that point, she falls off. But early game, getting a +7 Gateoo or even +9 or anything higher is good because Gateoo off-field damage does the most off-field damage compared to any of the other weapons. And also, her skill, if you hold the skill, it's like the only multi-hitting skill, right? She solves every single QTE bar, right? What was the one? The dash attack one that she doesn't solve. Since in 4-player team content, you have to solve QTEs, as in you do in 200 basic attacks, do 200 skill hits, stuff like that. Gateoo can solve every single one. Okay, very, very good. If you want to invest into one support weapon, just go Gateoo. And then just have her on your team to do passive damage. Okay, very strong. Gateoo is break shield DPS. Gateoo doesn't really break shield anymore on the MMO server. Gateoo also gives you hyper body, basically. She's like brain dead DPS weapon. Very safe. You just hold attack, you get a crap ton of hyper body, and then you just like do damage if you want to do Fizz damage. And then high difficulty end game content for survivability. You also go Gateoo, because Gateoo gives you like a 50% max HP shield for 15 seconds. Every 23 seconds. Very strong late game weapon as well as early game damage buffing in the back. Oh, not damage buff, but just she just does damage in the background and stuff like that. Okay. Just level up Gateoo. Very strong. And then finally, our last weapon, we got freaking Umi. Straight into D tier. Umi is a very, very, very strong. She is strong. If you want to play her, you can. Go ahead. She is a very strong skill damage DPS for very long form content. Unfortunately, she takes an entire year to get to that point because she has that preheat charge bar that you have to build before she actually does damage. And by that time comes, all of the other DPSs already went into their second rotation and stuff like that. She takes too long to start, and also just very awkward to use because you need to be spamming in melee distance and stuff like that. Don't bother, man. There's so many better, and she's Fizz, and like all kinds of different issues with her. Unless you want to have a hard time, you can try building her. If you're really a simp, you can build her, but honestly, way better options up here. But there is the tier list. This is everything in the tier list, yes? So maybe Zeke can be upgraded up here if I want to. Hipper can be upgraded up here. But in general, right, the S and A tiers are very close together. Like I originally said, this entire tier list, even weapons in D tier, you can build to have similar success and similar damage, right? The weapons are relatively balanced to each other, but again, there's still better weapons and worse weapons. You can't have perfect balance, okay? So There you have it. I think this is a finalized tier list. I think this is fair enough. Is healer ordered? Not really. Yes, they are, but not really. You need to get all of them anyway. So how the tier list works is basically, right, Helene is up here because, not because she's the strongest, okay? There are better frost weapons that do more damage than her. She is the strongest because she does a shit ton of damage. She's also safe to play. Very consistent. And Toria is up here because she is like general one-size-fits-all, buffs everything damage, does damage, background, super quick to use, also flies, right? All of these weapons, they have multiple uses, multiple roles. That's why they're in S tier, right? Liu Hua, good flame damage, safe to play, can fit in a tank comp and do damage as well, okay? Lots of different toolkits that she can use to do damage. And potentially she's bugged on release, so you can cheese a lot of content. We'll see about that. Gateoo, one size fit all. All of these S tier weapons basically has multiple uses. That's why you want to invest into them. But yeah, are we good? Any questions for the weapon? Will we see a third banner in season 1? No. This is all the weapons you get on season 1 for like half a year. You should add expert tag to see. They are better theoretically on a cactus C tier weapon. That's like, there's no way they are better than S tier weapons if you're playing the game in normal content. It's just not possible. Yes, all of these weapons are on season 1. Veronica don't exist. If you paid them perfectly, they can be B tier. You can't play them perfectly. That's the thing. TOF doesn't allow you to play them perfectly. There's so much bullshit things that will happen. It just don't happen. It's just like, you play Ozrada. You either wait. Theoretically, if the target doesn't move, all his clones hit the target, you'll do shit ton of damage. But like the moment Mecha Chiron starts running around and then your clones dash and then don't hit the target, you lose damage. Or your option is to wait before you do that dash attack. But in the time you're waiting, these other more consistent weapons already are doing more damage than you. These weapons have theoretically higher damage, but like it'll never happen in real content. Lan should be higher than Shaki because Astor is better than Shaki. Astor replaces Shaki. It depends on content. I feel like the Forced Fantasia is still good. It depends on, all of these weapons depend on content. Like put Tion down here. Tank weapons are all the way on the right. Yeah, just for clarity purposes. All right, there we go. Finalized tier list maybe. Is GU the only ping dependent weapon? Yes, I think so. The skill spam team. You don't spam skills, no. It doesn't exist. Can't spam skills here. Right. Chinese Chatter's got a point. With the existence of Asuka, all right, Lan is higher and Shaki is lower. Without the existence of Asuka, you kind of forced to play Shaki, and then which pushes Lan down. This is like without the collab weapons, basically. Where's Yulan? Yulan doesn't exist season 1. I think this is good enough of a tier list. Yulan, Anna, Icarus, Fiona, Naya not in the game yet. And then Veronica and everything later won't be in the game either. Unless Global changes something. Oh yeah, and Mimi. Nanto. But yeah, we good? Well, we have enough resources to invest in more than one team comp. So basically, in the MMO server, you can realistically invest into +7 every single weapon to +7 easily, which unlocks most of their kit. Or some weapons need to be at +9 like Grey Fox to get her entire kit, but like most weapons, you can get everything easily to +7. If you grind all day, you don't even need to grind all day. You just get the mats for free just by doing content. Because it's a lot cheaper to get to +7. Because like the cost of leveling up a weapon goes up exponentially as the levels go up. So getting to +7 is not even relevant. You don't spend a lot of mats to get to +7. It's very cheap. All you lose is gold. You don't even lose that much gold going to +7. Obviously, it does hinder going to +7 and beyond for your main weapon. You shouldn't go to +7 on stuff you're not going to play. But, you know, if you're going to play anything, you can safely go to +7 to try it out. We good?